This video is sponsored by Sigma. We are shooting with the new lens today, 50mm 1.2 from Sigma. And we have a pretty epic location for it. I'm gonna be shooting down there, crazy waterfall with the cliffs over there. Yeah. Let's see what we get with this lens. Now, if you've been following me for a longer period of time, you most likely know that I used to be a wedding photographer and videographer. In fact, I shot weddings for 15 years. And the first lens that I learned to love and used 90% of the day was the 50mm 1.8. That's this little guy here on my iPhone. Shooting on a 50mm and getting that nice shallow depth of field was something that I had never experienced before and opened up a whole new world of photography for me. As time went on, I wanted to get a little bit wider, so the Sigma 35 1.4 ended up being one of my favorite lenses, and that's why it's really nice today to be trying the Sigma 50mm 1.2, kind of going back to my old roots. Now, our first day in Madera didn't start off as we would have hoped. When we left our Airbnb down in Funchal, it was a very nice, clear, starry night. So we were super excited to do this epic hike called Pico de Herrera, where you get to go above the clouds. But as we started driving up the mountain, it started raining. And a hike that was supposed to take us above the clouds actually turned out to be us being in the clouds.
We are on top of the mountain, in the cloud, trying to get sunrise.
How optimistic are you about this sunrise?
I'm gonna be optimistic. I think the wind is gonna push these clouds out. Everyone else is gonna think it's not gonna happen, and we're gonna get to enjoy the sunrise.
That was always optimistic.
We tried to stay optimistic, and we hiked to the very end and waited around for quite a while, hoping that maybe these clouds would open up, but nope. We waited and we waited until we just had to call it quits. We have called it quits. Hope has waned. It did not clear. Now we walk back to the parking lot with our tail between our legs. Now on the way back down, we were actually able to see what these windy roads up the mountain look like. And all of a sudden, we actually ended up finding a really epic spot. And I pulled out the Sigma 50mm 1.2 and I started shooting. And in the end, I actually got some really epic images. And that's what I love about these road trip adventures, especially when you're traveling somewhere. You might have these certain expectations that these are the epic places to go to, but a lot of times those ones don't end up being so epic, and it's these random little side adventures that become the most epic.
Coke, Fanta, combo.
Do we need ketchups before you pay?
Oh, yeah.
¿Cuántas ketchup? Una, dos, tres.
10. Matti, what fine establishment are you taking us out for lunch today?
I only treat you guys to the best. You can get whatever you want.
Anything?
And order as much as you want.
Even dessert?
Even dessert. Appetizer if you want to.
Now some of you might be wondering, prime lens, zoom lens, what does that even mean? Well, let me explain what they are and the pros and cons of both. So a zoom lens has a variable focal length. You can decide how wide or how tight your shot is gonna be without moving around. There's all sorts of different focal ranges. You have the 16-35, 24-70, 70-200, just to name a few. And the pros of zoom lenses are just its versatility and convenience. For example, I'm often shooting on my Sony 16-35, which is really convenient because I can vlog at 16mm because it's really wide, but as well I can push into 35mm and do some cool B-roll shots. There's no need to be switching lenses and missing moments. The downside of zoom lenses is that they have typically slower apertures of 2.8 or 4, meaning you're not gonna get as much of that shallow depth of field, and as well, low light performance is gonna be worse. Not to mention, zoom lenses are often much bigger and bulkier and more expensive. A prime lens then has a fixed focal length. You know, you have the 24mm, the 35mm, 50mm, 85mm, and so on, which means you can't zoom in or out, and instead you just gotta move your feet to get closer. Prime lenses are known to be sharper, and as well you have faster apertures. For example, this is 1.2, meaning you're gonna get crazy shallow depth of field and really great low light performance. And dare I say that shooting with a prime often forces you to get more creative. Instead of just standing still in one spot and just zooming in without the perspective really changing, with a prime lens, you're forced to move around and change your perspective, getting you more creative shots. Now, of course, that can be a downside because when you're in a pinch and you want to capture a moment, you can't just zoom in. You got to really run towards that subject in order to get the shot. meaning you actually might miss the shot. As well, you're gonna need multiple prime lenses to cover your focal ranges, which can be annoying because you end up having to switch between lenses and you can as well be missing moments. And as well, it can get pretty expensive buying a whole bunch of prime lenses. With our morning sunrise hike being a bit of a fail, we were hungry to go out and explore to get more epic moments captured. Our plan was to head off to this coastal cliff, get off the beaten path, and just capture some epic sunsets and blue hour moments. Currently walking in Portugal. We don't know where we're walking. You think we're gonna find the waterfall, Matti?
Possibly.
Just walking down some random farmer's road. Ooh. The waterfall is a trickle. Matti, as you ponder out there, deep life questions, prime versus zoom.
The question that I'm pondering is, do we go anti-gravity? Do we go Mavic 4 Pro? Do we go FPV?
Answer my question first, prime versus zoom.
Zoom most of the time, but prime's also 24mm, my favorite lens.
Matti was saying just yesterday, said 24mm 1.4
is a huge difference to 2.8.
It's that depth to the lens.
35mm 1.2, massive difference to a 2.8. Like, so big. The wider it gets, the more it matters. Unlike if you're on like a 70 to 200 2.8, like there's that new 1.4 135. Nobody needs a 1.4 35. 135 is already so shallow depth of field, but for a 24 30, like all those.
That's what it really shows. Prime lenses or zoom lenses?
Zoom.
Why?
Convenience.
The run and gun capabilities.
Yes.
But would you like a prime in a zoom if it was like a zoom with a really nice shallow depth of field?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll take what I can get. It's interesting for me because in different seasons of my photography filmmaking journey, I've been a zoom guy or a prime guy. For example, when I shot weddings, I really like prime lenses just to have that low light capabilities and the ability to get that really nice bokeh. But then during this whole YouTube journey, I've definitely liked zoom lenses because I just want to be able to capture the moments with having to fumble with lenses. So there's definitely pros and cons to primes versus zooms. So the Sigma 50mm 1.2, why is this an interesting lens? Well, Sigma basically took their 50mm 1.4 that was released in 2023 and just made it even better. Not only did they increase the aperture to 1.4, but as well they increased the minimum focusing distance to 40 centimeters. And all this for a much affordable price compared to the Sony 50mm 1.2. These two have a $600 difference, which is crazy because both the Sigma and the Sony 50mm are both pretty much the same size and weight. They both have that minimum focus distance of 40 centimeters and they're both 1.2 aperture. So the question is it really worth paying $600 more to get the Sony lens or then the Sigma 50mm 1.2? There you go.
Jittery hands. First FPV victory.
Oh, it always builds some confidence, right?
Got sick dive bomb just over those like little peaks of those rocks and then straight down. Like,
just a casual cliff drop on the left here. I don't know, the older I get, afraid of heights. Legs get jittery, shaky at the knees.
there's always a question of how far do you keep going? This is nice, but that is even better down there. And then there's gonna be another one and another one.
It was wet. Is this the one?
Still another one. That one. Look how tempting that one is.
There's more.
I bet you there's another one after that one. That one's gonna get a little sketchy.
It goes all the way down to that one down there. Careful. It actually does. Careful. You can keep seeing it. It just keeps going down there. We're not going down there though. So what are my honest thoughts about the Sigma 50mm 1.2? Well, at first, if I'm honest, it felt weird to be shooting back on a 50mm just because I've been so used to shooting on the 16 to 35 and 50mm just felt so tight. But when I did start getting used to it again, it felt really nice to be able to get that super shallow depth of field and just to be able to shoot photos in just really dark circumstances. Like these portraits that I took of my brother Matti, these were taken during blue hour when pretty much it was already dark to the eye, but with my Sony a7S III paired with the Sigma 50mm 1.2 shooting out f1.2, I was able to still get these really nice, crispy, moody portraits of him. I think the one thing that I was probably most worried about while shooting with the Sigma 50mm 1.2 was autofocus. Because there's a lot of times that feeling like native lenses, very solid with the Sony cameras, but third-party lenses can always be a little bit iffy, right? But to be honest, while I was shooting, the lens did great. It wasn't ever hunting, and I feel like it locked focus other than when I made mistakes myself, user error. All in all, it was a really solid shooting experience. Now, I did read that some people had done some tests where someone's running towards you, and with the Sony lens, it would be like 10 out of 10, always autofocus hitting right, whereas with the Sigma 50mm 1.2, it was like 7 out of 10 times getting it accurate. So maybe if you are a professional sports photographer with people always running towards you, you want to go then and pay that extra $600 to get solid autofocus. But if you're not doing that kinds of photography, I think you'll probably be pretty dang good with the Sigma 50mm 1.2.
And I would say that is the end of a fantastic night. What a day.
Now, our evening sunrise mission couldn't have been more of a contrast from our morning. Everything from the location to the sunset to the blue hour moment, the stars just aligned for us that evening. And it ended up being one of our favorite nights of the trip. Just being able to capture epic moments and hang out as a crew, it just doesn't get better than that. I really am just so grateful that this trip to Madera worked out after all, even after our epic fail.